See, ever since the days of Adam and Eve, sin's growing more and more, leaving folks shattered and grieved. See, the devil wanna scatter and deceive, and God's no love, he'll leave you battered to bleed. Every day getting sadder, we need the love of Jesus Christ instead of another platter of weed. I pray the Lord has mercy on my soul. Sometimes I find me climbing up the ladder of greed, trying to get my scribble right, but the Lord said I'll be more blessed if I go ahead and scatter my seed. So I'm trying to do everything he tells me, instead of saying that it really don't matter to me. See, the tongue is a boastful thing. It could either bless or be full of chatter indeed. Lord, help me say the right thing instead of hearing my mouth running off full of flattering speed. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son so that we can be saved. He died on a tree for you and me. He healed my disease and he set me free. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son so that we can be saved. He died on a tree for you and me. He healed my disease and he set me free. See, I'm avoiding all the streets.
I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but I'm going to. I'm not sure that fear best describes what I was feeling. I was hurt and confused because I knew that Michael loved me. I knew that because we had talked and could talk about anything, share anything, and now he was sharing his plans for my death. And in a bizarre way, I felt this conversation proved how close we were, how intimately we were connected. But still I cried. Cried tears I didn't even believe I still had. He stopped the stewardess in the aisle. "Can you please bring my wife glass? She needs some champagne to cheer her up. Besides, we're celebrating." After she left to fetch the glass, he leaned close to whisper in my ear, "Do you know what we're celebrating, honey? My being free from you." He kissed me on the forehead. "Ma and I are going to be happy when you're gone. She'll be sad at first, but don't worry, I'll take good care of her. She'll miss you for a little while, but me and Ma will have lots of fun." How could he be so cruel, I wondered. How could I have married this man? "Wipe your tears away, Rob. Don't worry, it won't hurt. You'll never see it coming." I tried to convince myself that he was kidding, that it was all alcohol talking, plus whatever was left of the pills. But the truth was, I was very afraid. I looked at my mother and thought of her life without me around. Michael's probably right, I thought. She'd miss me for a while, but then she'd be okay. I wondered if Stephanie, my sister, would miss me. I turned and looked out the window again and pictured myself sitting on the clouds, and it felt like I was already gone. I'll say this, about 2 weeks ago, there was an NYU student who had been killed by her boyfriend. I saw it in the paper, and they were talking about it a little bit. And there was an article in the New York Times that basically said, if a man tells you he's going to kill you, believe him. And I thought of my own situation, because basically, with all of, forgive me little ones for saying this, the hell that I put my family through, my mother will still to this day say, no matter what, you're here. I was doing a movie with Damon Wayans called Blank Man. We did a little press junket, and I had my son, who's now much older, but he was 3 at the time, and she came to visit. And I was running back and forth between doing press into the room to play with Buddy. And I walked in one time, and my mother was crying, and it was during O.J. Simpson's slow speed chase. My mother's not very much of a crier, and I wondered what was wrong. She was pretty hysterical. And she said, that could have been you. And I will say this to everyone that loves my husband. You don't love him or could not love him as much as I did. Or want for him more than I wanted for him. So it's very difficult to wrap my mind around the fact that no matter what, I am here. And my life has been sort of difficult, but I feel like, as I said today, God has an amazing sense of humor. From Phil Donahue to the Capitol and speaking. But it is about surviving. And it's about being better for it every day. And I realize that my book holds the specifics of my story, the details of my story. But as I've gone out and I've spoken to women, my details are so much like so many other women's stories. And in many respects, we all have a book. The details are a little bit different here and there. But it's so very much the same of trying to get your confidence back. I mean, that's where I feel I'm at now. So as much as somebody I've been, thank you for coming, I have chills. It's for me. I put a career on hold. I couldn't function. I was so afraid of everything, everyone. And if I can do one thing, anything, say one thing that keeps another woman from being robbed of the time that I was robbed of, I would do it. If I could take any plane ride, go any place to tell any woman he is of good love, I would do it. I'm sorry. And I would have to say one last thing. I will repeat, I got nothing from my husband. We had a joint account, and I didn't get what I had put in it from my work. I left as many women left, my very big house, with whatever I had on my back. It was very interesting. I was in speaking at a women's shelter in Dallas very recently, and a woman was talking about my book. She said, I brought your book, but I had to leave it when I left. She said, I didn't leave with anything. And I said, I left my house the very same. I didn't have my grandfather's watch that he'd given me. The only man that, for me, really meant such a great deal to me. So it's so very interesting. I was raised Catholic. That's the first thing I would just want to read a little bit from my book. And it's interesting how when you go through these rituals of life and all of a sudden they don't mean anything until you are really affected. I just want to read something. I've known God all of my life. I was raised Catholic, going to Mass every Sunday. When we had a special request of God, we said the Rosary. And if we were even more concerned, we resorted to novenas. I believed in God, and from every indication, God believed in me. Of course, I wanted God to be pleased with me, but most of all, I wanted God to make me happy. And indeed, the relationship was quite rewarding. But ritual and even religion do not ensure relationship with God. It is by experiencing God that we get to know Him. And it is in knowing God, truly knowing God, that we get to know ourselves. After years of ritual and religion, I was finally introduced to God by Michael. I can say that surely I know God by name. God has a way of getting your attention and making sure you never forget. And for me, this relationship is home. So I have to say, it's interesting now, a little girl's first love. Well, and I didn't have my first love. And I always felt that if I wasn't good enough for my father to stick around, why should any other man stick around? I have to say I'm the third generation of domestic violence in my family. I didn't know that until I did research for my book. I always thought of my grandmother as she was a very tiny woman, about 5'2". I always thought of her as so beautiful and so genteel, and I realized the strength that it must have taken to leave a house and go to Harlem and move into one bedroom. Her sisters shared her home with her. And just move her two little girls into one bedroom. Her sister, she was the youngest of 16 children. And when they boarded her on the train, I love doing research. Everybody should do it. But one sister told her in particular, make sure your knees, before your feet hit the ground, make sure your knees hit the floor and pray to God. And when they got to Harlem, it was one morning she was waking up and she put her feet in her slipper and there was a little mouse there. So she said that was a reminder. From then on, she made sure her knees hit the ground before anything else.